Fine. I'm gonna be playing some videos today, and I found some that are interesting and one that I'm excited to watch because it connects to childhood nostalgia. This nostalgia. Anyway, I guess I'll just get started on the video.
Like the artists from an art movement that happened.
Oh god.
Artists who are adopting AI art sound a lot like the artists from an art movement that happened 100 years ago. Back then was the birth of Futurism, and Futurism stated that the world had been enriched by a new beauty, a beauty of speed. A racing car adorned with great pipes like serpents of exploding breath is more beautiful than the victory of the Samathris, they said. And how's this for a quote from the Manifesto of Futurism in 1909? Just apply it verbatim to art made with AI art platforms in the mid-2020s. What is there to be seen in an old picture except the laborious contortions of an artist throwing themselves against the barriers of a medium that thwarts their desire to express their dream completely? That's a really powerful quote in defense of AI art. The problem is, it's not true. The barriers are still up. The medium is thwarting your desires. The developers of these tools are not producing just the medium. They are the moral arbiters of how you can use them. All of the AI models I play with are very, very safe. Very careful. That's the problem. And don't get me wrong, I know if it was open we would be flooded with horrifically explicit and violent
Oh god.
I'm not saying that it should be open. It seems people have at least learnt that from photography, where there was
Sorry, I have to go back.
Demand for pornography than there was.
Oh god. Make art. Like whatever happened at the day of making something of it. Oh god, motherfucker. My drawing table's starting to fall apart as of late. Isn't good. Well, where's my hat? Oh god, where's my hat? I can't wear my headphones without my fucking hat because if I don't have my fucking hat on, my hair will get stuck in the fucking headset. Because everything in my goddamn room is fucking broken. Jesus Christ. The boy. The baby. The haha funny. Oh, there it is. It was right next to my feet the whole time. Okay. Anyway. Putting on my glasses. Anyway.
Defense of AI. That's a really powerful quote in defense of AI.
Wait.
What is there to be AI art platforms in 1909, said? And how's this for a quote from the Manifesto of Futurism in 1909? Just apply it verbatim to art made with AI art platforms in the mid-2020s. What is there?
Mid-2020s? Wait, what? Are we in the mid-2020s? It's 2023. I don't think that's like the mid-2020s. It's more so like, I don't know, like... I don't really fucking know. I'll be honest, I guess maybe like the early I feel like we're in the early 2020s still. When does it not count? I mean, no, I think we're still in the early. Maybe? No, yeah, we're in the early 2020s. What are you talking about?
In an old picture, except the laborious contortions of an artist throwing themselves against the barriers of a medium that thwarts their desire to express their dream completely. That's a really powerful quote in defense of AI art. The problem is, it's not true. The barriers are still up. The medium is thwarting your desires. The developers of these tools are not producing just the medium. They are the moral arbiters of how you can use them. All of the AI models I found are very, very safe, very careful. And that's the problem. And don't get me wrong, I know if it was open we would be flooded with horrifically explicit and violent imagery and people wouldn't be ready for it. I'm not saying that it should be open. It seems people have at least learnt that from photography, where there was much more initial demand for pornography than there was class literature. And I think that
God, F90. God, I think it's F95. Let's see. Yeah, F95 zone is like flooded with like AI art porn games. It's insane. It's insanely annoying.
development is going just fast enough. But you know there are unlocked versions behind the scenes. What's happening with them? Who has access to them? What are they making that we can't see? And while there are a few examples of it shaking up the art world, the majority of discussion and disruption is coming from the commercial art space, art jobs. And this is obviously because as an art form, we're still accessing it with an old media frame of mind, how it can do things that we know. You can, after all, only comprehend any new idea with reference to an idea that you're familiar with. So people who've never come across AI art before first find out about it by seeing it mimic a Picasso. That's how you sell the potential idea of a new tool to a market who doesn't understand it. The concept of this has quite a lot of history in all areas of human development, and it was a phenomenon best described by an old designer called Raymond Lowery, and he coined the term Maya, not the 3D software. This stood for most advanced yet accessible, and I'm sure that those creating these AI tools have a lot in common.
Sorry, I'm looking for something right now.
He stated, "The adult's public taste is not necessarily ready to accept the logical solutions to their requirements if the solution implies too vast a departure from what they have been conditioned into accepting as the norm." Maya has continued,
"Most AI artists can't make art with AI generators, as many are else still unable to unwrap their heads around AI. I talk about how we historically approach new ideas and why there's a hidden problem with AI generators and digital art in general." Oh, is he anti-digital art? Okay. Okay, so he's just like a traditionalist snob. Okay. Cool. But I don't know. I'll listen.
into this century in all areas. If you remember the first iPhones, the idea of the App Store was really advanced, so people needed a way to access it. The app for taking notes used to have a faux leather effect at the top and torn paper edges, just like a notebook, to help people transition to understanding that they can make notes on their phone. But here's a better example. The icon for YouTube in 2008 was a 1950s style tube television, telling you, you watch what you understand to be TV here now. But even the first motor cars had to look similar to the carriages that were before pulled by horses. There was no need to be so high up and look over the horse anymore, but that's how people were sold it. Look at this carriage that doesn't need a horse. Humans can only think from the database they already have. Then, with time, we look back at these things and they seem almost hilariously silly. For me, as an artist, this most interestingly plays out between visual artists and mainstream advertising. Commercial culture has always adopted ideas from these visionaries, or the artists would say steals, alters them to make them more palatable, and then reissues them to the public with a product attached. The shock of the new becomes the schlock of the novel. Commercial artists find what's radical, take off the spiky edges, smooth it out, and repackage it for a consumer class. The best example of this is probably the punk aesthetic. It was a total, literal tear-up of all the rules of art and design, of music, a complete anti-establishment aesthetic now on British biscuit tins in Asda. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm not blaming it on any economic system. I'm just
looking through this real quick. I've just been brush hunting lately, because I realize if I find pipes like these, I could just finish a lot of stuff real quick. Maybe I'll keep playing.
Is this cycle, and it plays over and over, that fringe art, if presumed to have any influence, will gravitate to or be pushed towards the centre, become common, get overused and drained of impact, and then seem harmless, with little cultural memory of how powerfully it came into the world. But few of the founding artists and designers choose to be on the outside forever, marginalised until they are forgotten or the mainstream celebrates them as unsung geniuses. This linking of artist and commerce has carried artists to professional heights, but left them dependent, perhaps troublingly, upon the client's societal values and needs.
Oh, I know what I can do.
And a similar example that often gets no nuanced discussion is that this also applies to how we access new ideas. And this is an important one, but a very sensitive one. Often, old artists or books or even Disney cartoons that explored other cultures are, in time, retrospectively criticised for simplification, appropriation, and tokenization. Often, a character from the culture that produced it too easily becomes the hero in the culture it's exploring. But the only way that you can access anything new is through what you know, so, of course, they are overly simplified with crude stereotypes, as they were the very first access point. They could not be made with the alien values of the culture they highlighted, or they would be inaccessible to the culture of their audience. But with time, as education about these other cultures proliferates,
Okay,
as
I know I'm
voices
getting.
can talk about the ideas of their culture and find exposure, often by the resistance provoked by the works of these old artists, that their output starts to look astonishingly ignorant and totally inappropriate. But in their time, they were often celebrated for opening up a world that people had no
Oh,
idea
I can afford
no
some of
way
these
accessing. History
brushes.
is also a foreign culture, and it's important to remember that when we're judging artists from then by the values of now. Why do I say this? Because we are currently only able to access the world of AI and AI art by what we already know, comparing it to how art is made today, using examples that will soon make us look hilariously silly. It will become its own medium and be used in its own way. One issue is that we are also now having to navigate a culture that has become very sensitive to new and nuanced ideas. My problem is I can't see the fringe artists that are stress testing the system anymore, trying to move it in interesting directions. Each generation, each new medium should push against the ideas of the culture before it, see how it comes up wanting against the ideas of a new age. However, the cozy cafes and corner community conversations, the the fringe art shows, if you like, of the digital space don't seem to exist. Crowded out, modded out, and community guidelined out. If you want to share interesting art online, you have to go through platforms like Instagram, DeviantArt, ArtStation, Reddit, Discord, YouTube, Twitch, all of which immediately censor and silence or dump into...
Wait, what? That's happened all the time throughout history. As long as there's been, like, institutions that have been, like, in power for that. I found, like, some of the most interesting artists around on those sites, though. I don't know, that's kind of weird to me. I don't really like that take as much. Like, I get a lot of those artists back then were also starving, but they were still, like, pretty well known from what I've heard.
The darkness of the algorithm, anything that pushes against the current moral consensus. You may say good. Morality on what's appropriate will shift again, and it shifts.
Oh my god.
By exposing new ideas, having light shone on them in public.
Okay, fuck it.
Pushed and resisted. If you don't do that, then things grow in the shadows. And then a culture is shocked when a quiet, unseen majority finds an outlet, often via a very outspoken personality, or more simply and powerfully, at the ballot box. Normally, artists have been quite involved in these cultural shifts, but I don't really see them involved now. Young digital artists or traditional artists trying to get traction in the digital space need to have already adopted the ideas of Maya to even share their art. Because to get seen in the digital space, you have to already be advertiser friendly. There are also few cross-generational spaces online. The younger generation, the digital natives that dominate the spaces, have developed a frame set of morals and rules in spaces that they have founded, not inherited spaces where generations before them have had a chance to make mistakes and learn. These online ideas are untested by time and unquestioned by their predecessors, because there are no predecessors. And after all, it's their space and more power to them. They encourage safe spaces, and it doesn't seem to resemble Lord of the Flies to me. But these spaces are considered sanitized by many outside them. Big business agrees. It dons its moral cap and joins in with these ideas, not because they give a shit about anyone's safety, but because ad money is magnetized to safe content. Every single artistic movement has shocked in its origin. But to shock is to trigger, and to trigger is to have a warning. So the only art that really does explode online is a literal world of fantasy. Now,
where is it?
Traditional art lovers do enjoy fantasy art and surrealism. I do. However, as a collective, they are not as interested in the hyperrealism or the hyperhuman fantastic.
Oh my fucking god, where the fuck is it? Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Okay. Sorry.
Aesthetics that dominate digital art, as they don't see how they represent much of the human condition. It is argued that it's the digital version of paintings of the Renaissance period, just replacing the superhuman gods with new supernatural characters, but art historians will fight strongly to deny that idea.
As far as we know.
You can't please everyone, and if you are making art like that, you shouldn't care about what they think. You do you. But it does seem a shame to me, as unlike before, the mainstream is so fractured now into small pocketed communities that the possibility of really interesting art looks more possible than ever. But you do have to risk hurting sentiments. And while the comment sections are as free from fear as ever, the content made simply isn't. So there is no pool where artists can stress test the system, where they can work to tear against the fabric of what is to make what will become. That's the problem I see with art spaces in the digital space. Now enter AI. Many art mediums have existed before, from oil paint to MS Paint, from film camera to digital camera, from casting iron to 3D printing, clay and Play-Doh and plasticine, Blender and Maya. Not the acronym, but the 3D animation software. guidelines on how you can use them by the very people who make the tool. In the past, if you made something testing boundaries that went too far and was seen as way too outrageous, the establishment just wouldn't get behind it. But savvy people knew what was going on, and those really interested in the arts knew where to find it. You could, as an artist, create and explore these darker but important elements of human nature in private communities if you wished. We are not trusted to do that now. But realistically, no. I do see why the OpenAI is limited, why it's different to those mediums. The ability it has to so easily make work that could confuse, offend, manipulate, pit religion against religion, make arguments for horrific acts is so strong. If open and pushed by provocative artists, the output would be so combustible that no philosopher of any age trying to explain how there is no objective good or bad in the world would be able to put the fires out.
Jesus.
However, something will break out, and it may not be pleasant. My fear is that without these darker elements, these private experiments being explored publicly, just what is going on in the shadows. We will find out. It's just a matter of time. And if AI is too overwhelming, I want to try as best I can to explore ideas about how art, AI or not, has historically helped at times like this, why it's so dismissed now, and why people's ideas about art are so confused and watered down, and why I think we need a renaissance perhaps more than ever. And I do think one is coming. The discussions are just beginning, so I hope you join me for them. Cheers.
Okay, so I'm gonna put this around here. We're gonna put it right around here. This will be the line. Yeah, this will be the line. Maybe here. Yeah, that's good. No, wait. Yeah, okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay, next video. Holy shit.
Do you want to just jump in, or do you want like and like
AR has exploded into recent months and has created big rifts between the art and tech world. I have also a lot of concerns, so I invited Silicon Valley about it. Evan Conrad is someone who's actively working in the AI space. Okay, whatever. I am watching Blue Bloods. I just wanted to watch this because it's from a series called Propaganda, and I grew up with Blue Bloods, kind of liking it, so I'm kind of curious how it holds up.
It's 10 p.m. on a Friday night. Do you know what your parents are watching?
Well, I'm Mr. Rogers, and this is my neighborhood.
Yeah, today we're talking about Blue Bloods. And look, I don't want to talk about Blue Bloods. I didn't even really want to watch it, but I did it, so you don't have to. If I don't talk about propaganda on television, there's no way to avoid talking about Blue Bloods. For those of you who don't know, and I'm assuming that's anyone who doesn't still live with their grandparents, Blue Bloods is a CBS police procedural set around a family of cops in the NYPD. Tom Selleck's sexy mustache stars as the police commissioner, like his father before him, and his children are in the force too. One's a detective, one's an officer just getting his start, and the family's daughter is a prosecutor in the district attorney's office. Blue Bloods was the 7th most watched program on television this past season, with nearly 13 million viewers
What?
tuning in every week. And the
It's
show
still
ranked
going on?
every year since 2012.
It's still going on?
How is this show I've never heard of so popular? Well, the fact that you're watching this video almost definitely ages you out of Blue Bloods' target demo. According to Ad Age, the median age for a viewer of Blue Bloods in 2019 was 70 years old. You may be asking yourself, how is this show I've never heard of every year since 2012? You may be asking yourself, how is this show I've never heard of so popular? Well, the fact that you're watching this video almost definitely ages you out of Blue Bloods' target demo. According to Ad Age,
Jesus.
the median age for a viewer of Blue Bloods in 2019 was 70 years old,
Pink.
the oldest mark I've been able to find. It might also explain this.
'Cause I'm a
situation.
girl!
The writers felt the need to explain what a selfie was.
Okay, one more time in English. A selfie?
It's a sexy picture you take of yourself.
Your next question is probably, why should I care about this show if nobody I know watches it? Well, besides the fact that I can almost guarantee you that someone in the older age bracket of your family does, it's also a favorite show of cops themselves. Tom Selleck has told more than one outlet about the glowing reviews police have given the show, telling CBS 58, quote,
Jesus.
"We get a lot of positive responses from police officers, my heroes, and I think that's a wonderful compliment." He also told TV Insider that sometimes he gets salutes on the street from real cops.
Jesus.
So old people
That's so weird.
Why should we care? Why should anyone care? Well, as conversations rage on the internet about radically reforming and reimagining the role police play in American society, it's important to remember that not everybody is seeing the same world. In part 1 of this series on how TV has shaped America, we talk about the history of the media and the deals early shows made with law enforcement, creating independence for access in the sheen of authenticity and realism. But as we've seen throughout the nationwide protests against police brutality, TV isn't the only media in town depicting the police. Cell phone footage has spread like wildfire across the internet, and with it, conversations about reforming and reimagining the role police should play. And that's what this series is about, reassessing the image of police we've gotten from television. And if that sounds interesting to you, check out my Patreon. While cell phone footage has ignited conversations about the police, there are still a lot of people who aren't looking at those videos. They're watching things like Blue Bloods.
Damn internet's a blessing and a curse.
Can I quote you on that? Senior Living is hounding me for a soundbite.
If we're going to have a conversation about how to improve or change our police system in America, we have to understand what reality and assumptions everyone is operating on. And that's why we have to talk about Blue Bloods. It's a cop's cop show. Perhaps this is most apparent in the very title of the show. Blue Bloods is about the Reagan family. I know, it's not exactly subtle in its conservative politics. The Reagans have a long history with the police and with law enforcement, which is where the title comes from.
You think they'll have an episode about trans
They get
people?
that thin blue line in their blood.
I'm excited for the trans episode.
Complete irony of this title. The term blue blood actually dates back to medieval Spain, to separate the white Spanish royals from dark-skinned Muslim Moors. Over time, it became a term for aristocracy at large. Those who didn't have to work in the fields would have skin so pale you could see their blue veins. Others have used the
Oh,
term to represent
shit.
inbreeding and blood disorders like hemophilia and royal families like the Habsburg.
Most people in this situation would be angry with their family for the centuries of inbreeding, but not Gerhard. He's too busy trying to stave off infection.
No matter which explanation you prefer, the term blue blood is either explicitly racist or refers to a generational ruling class of people who have become disconnected from their subjects. And that's just hilariously on the nose. And it's also what makes the show's portrayal of the police so damaging. Blue Bloods paints an unreflective, pro-police world through oversimplification of difficult problems, discrediting critics, and pushing a partisan worldview. And it does all of this while claiming to be about a virtuous group of people that exist above the dirty game of politics. expect Blue Bloods to steer clear of touchy political issues, to just stick to the police work in a way Law and Order might. But you'd be very, very wrong.
Really?
Blue Bloods loves to address the real and complicated issues that face the police, with storylines that feel like they've been ripped from the headlines. They've tackled the blue wall of silence, police brutality, racism, free speech, and a bunch of other things that feel very topical. Good, right? Well,
No.
not so much. You see, these
Yeah.
topics are brought up so that Blue Bloods can oversimplify them and solve them far too easily. Take, for example, the idea of oversight from the district attorney's office. This is a common critique of the American justice system. There have been a number of high-profile police brutality cases, like Eric Gardner and Tamir Rice, that have failed to produce indictments for the police officers involved, despite grand juries having a 99% indictment rate at the federal level.
Grand juries almost always do what the prosecutor wants. So maybe we need to look at, when it comes to the police, if prosecutors really don't want to indict
Oh,
them
God.
because they work with them and they need them and they're on the same show.
He's right. On Blue Bloods, this idea is highlighted in one season 4 episode, where Aaron Reagan is assigned to review an officer's use of excessive force that
Wait, what? Go back. I want to hear him talk. I really like whatever his name is now. I don't remember.
Maybe we need to look at,
Alright, I'm gonna close my eyes for a little bit.
if prosecutors really don't want to indict them because they work with them and they need them and they're on the same show. Because when it comes to the police, do what the prosecutor
99%
What?
indictment rate at the federal level.
Grand juries almost always do what the prosecutor wants. So maybe we need to look at, when it comes to the police, if prosecutors really don't want to indict them because they work with them and they need them and they're on the same show.
He's right. On Blue Bloods, this idea is highlighted in one season 4 episode, where Aaron Reagan is assigned to review an officer's use of excessive force that led to the death of a person in custody. Aaron Reagan is the daughter of the police commissioner himself, which makes this a clear conflict of interest.
See, the other guy on trial here is me. That's how this plays out.
So, an officer's use of excessive force that led to the death
Oh,
of a
God.
person in custody. Aaron Reagan is the daughter of the police commissioner himself, which makes this a clear conflict of interest.
See, the other guy on trial here is me. That's how this plays out.
So this is a powerful metaphor, right? Blue Bloods is using an actual family to highlight the familial nature of the NYPD and how it can get in the way of justice. It highlights the systemic flaws in our justice system's police oversight by making the prosecutor a literal member of the police family. So, how does Blue Bloods solve this real-world dilemma that it's talking about? Well, it's just not really a problem. Erin bristles when she's told that it might be a conflict of interest.
Are you saying I should have gotten your permission before taking this case?
As does her father.
Of course, I think she can be objective.
Her family badgers her to drop the case, seemingly hammering home the idea that this is a clear conflict of interest.
Christopher Collins was unarmed too, and your officer used deadly force.
If it were me, or Danny, or Jamie, we might have done the same thing.
But Erin conducts herself as a consummate professional throughout, totally unbothered. In fact, she eventually sways her family to her side, implying that keeping everything in-house isn't a flaw in the system, but actually its greatest strength. According to the Reagans, no outsider should have any say in this process.
So let me get this straight. You ready to throw down with those two knuckleheads even though they agree with everything you just said about Aaron?
Reagan family rule number 1. Reagans can talk smack all night long. Outsiders talk smack. There's gonna be a fight.
This is especially troubling when the show ties the NYPD so closely to On Blue Bloods, you could substitute Reagan in that speech with cops.
Reagan family rule number 1. Reagans can talk smack all night long. Outsiders talk smack. There's gonna be a fight.
Blue Bloods actually does a great job of highlighting that there is a problem. But when it comes time to talk about how to fix that problem, the issue just magically disappears. And everyone just does the right thing. Police oversight is often addressed this way on Blue Bloods, even when the show pays lip service to challenges. In a Season 5 episode, a cop named Kara Walsh returns to the force after having testified against her partner, who killed a suspect in custody with an illegal chokehold.
Partner killed a suspect in custody.
It was self-defense. Even the grand jury refused to indict him. Now, a good cop's out of a job while the one that put him there is still in the street.
In both the episodes showing the killing and the follow-up, Blue Bloods illustrates how difficult it is.
I get that cops need to protect themselves, but there have to be some regulations as to how far they can go, right?
We have guidelines.
But no matter what the regulations say, a cop should never rat on their partner. Ever.
So then the regulations don't really mean much, right?
Smart kid.
This is another real dilemma. Good job, Blue Bloods. Decorated Baltimore detective Joe Crystal was driven from the Baltimore police after he reported police brutality, as fellow officers tried to intimidate him and left a dead rat on his windshield. Buffalo officer Carriel Horn was fired in 2008 for reporting an illegal chokehold, while the offending officer would stay on the force and rack up at least 3 more incidents. This year, a Massachusetts detective was fired for a social media post supporting her niece attending a Black Lives Matter rally. Hell, in July, an NYPD chief told cops not to be afraid to use illegal chokeholds and assured them that they wouldn't be prosecuted if they did. It is a systemic issue that creates a culture that's known as the blue wall of silence.
Haven't you ever heard of the blue wall of silence?
Where reporting on a cop is worse than anything the cop might have actually done that's worth reporting on. So how does Blue Bloods address this complicated issue they've brought up? It's nothing a spunky speech from the good old Reagan boys can't fix.
Carol Walsh took a bullet for a fellow officer. That makes her twice the cop you'll ever be. And if you got a problem with her, then you got a problem with me. And that goes for everyone else in here.
And that speech just works. Somehow. See, look,
Nice.
now that we're all here, did they refuse to answer a call for backup that got Carol Walsh shot? Yes. Is there a system that incentivizes the behavior of these cops to retaliate against Carol Walsh's testimony? Also yes. But police reform? Nah. Let's just get the golden boy to give them a good talking to.
And if you got a problem with her, then you got a problem with me.
The same approach of walking up
Oh my
to complicated
God,
issues and
dude.
drastically oversimplifying them is taken to a number of other topics in Blue Bloods. In the 3rd season finale, the police take on a gang that runs the...
I am so fucking tired right now. I'm like fixing my schedule lately, but like, holy shit.
Without full cooperation and testimony from victims. Okay, so again, Blue Bloods has outlined a complicated and interesting dilemma. Victims need to testify in order to get justice. But if they do come forward, they face retribution because they still have to live in the same projects as the gang that hurt them. There's no easy solution here. The show actually goes out of its way to talk about the systemic issues that have made policing the Bitterman projects so difficult. Frank's dad even goes so far as to suggest that maybe the solution isn't something that can come from the police.
We're talking about generations of bad blood between the community and the NYPD.
And generations on both sides who have used that as an excuse to let it fester instead of taking action.
But what action? Cops aren't missionaries. They're cops.
So how does Blue Bloods, a show about cops, resolve this issue? Do they look into the socioeconomic conditions that led to the rise of gangs in the bitter end? Do they look at programs to shield the residents from retribution? No, of course not. They just arrest the entire gang and everything's fine.
These arrests were made with information given by the residents of the Bitterman projects at their own risk, with no promise of reward.
No attention is paid to the conditions that caused the gang to rise, or how another might easily take its place. Despite explaining how bad blood exists between the community and the NYPD, by the end of the episode, all of that bad blood evaporates. The entirety of the bitter end collectively informs on the leader of the gang, and in a massive police crackdown, they arrest everyone and dust off their hands. Mission accomplished. There's no look into how the police got everyone in the bitter end to brush off decades of bad blood, or how the police are planning to protect those
Oh,
who
God.
testify. Everyone just miraculously does the right thing.
With no promise of reward.
Hope I don't fall asleep on stream. That would be really embarrassing.
It's hard to say whether this is lazy or just optimistic, and it might be unrealistic to expect a show to examine every issue from every possible angle. But this oversimplification of very topical critiques serves
Oh,
to expose
why did I make it that
real
big?
problems facing our police system. And that's just in the cases where Blue Bloods actually acknowledges that there is a problem. So we've seen how Blue Bloods can bring up real and complex social issues and then just yada yada the solution, making it seem as though these are easy problems for the police to handle. In these cases, Blue Bloods makes its argument for a solution and then leaves the counter-argument just blank. But that's Blue Bloods at its best. At its worst, it actively discredits anyone who makes those counter-arguments.
Yep.
Let's start with police brutality, which Blue Bloods returns to again and again and again. Sometimes police brutality just happens and is ignored or allowed. Donnie Wahlberg's character Danny has a reputation as a rough and tumble cop who beats suspects.
I don't care what color you are, what race you are. If you break the law, I'm breaking your head.
Danny.
Oh, Danny, you rascal. More
Danny-
precisely, though, Blue Bloods sometimes comes up with elaborate.
Danny is legit like a psychopath though in that show. Like he is a psychopath in my opinion. There's so much wrong with Danny and I do not like Danny.
Explanations to handwave any kind of police brutality criticism. These aren't the bad apples you're looking for. One of the most absurd examples comes in a season 5 episode, where Danny chases a suspect into an apartment building, draws his gun, and threatens to throw him out a window.
Turn around, put your hands against the wall. I promise I'll throw you out that window.
You see the revelation spring across the suspect's eyes. I know, I can frame him for police brutality.
What the fuck? Who the fuck does that?
Led by a community leader named Reverend Potter, who Blue Bloods will bring in from time to time to play the villain. The crowd is angry, and I think it's easy to see why, considering all they can see is a man on the ground with broken legs. But the show disagrees. Throughout the rest of the episode, the show keeps painting Potter as someone who's just trying to score political points, suggesting he knows no police brutality occurred, and that he's just arguing in bad faith.
Well, Potter knows you didn't do it.
That doesn't matter to him.
Give me a break, Rev. There's no cameras or microphones in here.
What's worse, that's exactly what happens in the episode. Not only is the actual police brutality a hoax, but Reverend Potter is exposed all the same. It's revealed that there actually was a witness to this frame job, an illegal immigrant family next door worried about deportation.
Oh,
Potter found them
God.
and tried to buy their silence.
I got your signature on a check and a lease. They both trace back to your shelter corporation.
Shadow liberal money strikes again. This is just not a thing that happens. And the message that Blue Bloods is sending is both clear and troubling. That somehow the police are the ones who are the victims here. That the only people complaining about police brutality are either blowing it out of proportion or straight up lying. Now you might be saying, come on, that's just a wacky, over-the-top TV episode. And you'd be right. But what's especially dangerous about this story is how similarly it could have played out if Danny had actually done what he threatened to do.
Turn around, put your hands against the wall. I promise I'll throw you out that window.
It would have been his word against the suspect. The eyewitness would have stayed silent under the threat of deportation, or could have simply been deported.
So you can deliver him and his family to immigration and put him on the first boat back to Mexico?
In the closing moments of the episode, Commissioner Mustache even points out what kind of united power the justice system has in standing behind cops.
You can't promise no charges you don't have the power. They're not yours to bring.
No grand jury.
You can't promise that either. That's up to the district attorney.
But despite how easy it is to picture that parallel story, Blue Bloods discredits the people criticizing the police as simply trying to score political points. In fact, any opposition to the police department on Blue Bloods is usually made out to be purely political. Potter plays this role in all 8 episodes he appears in over the course of the series.
But he is one in a long line that thinks of the police as an occupying force and fancies himself as leader of the resistance.
Of course, the NYPD does have a long, intense history with racial minorities. In 2013, a judge ruled that the city's stop and frisk policy violated the constitutional rights of people of color. In 2020, a half-dozen police officers from a South Brooklyn police station testified in sworn statements that they were told by a commanding officer, quote, "You should write more black and Hispanic people," and, quote, "You are stopping too many Russian and Chinese." But sure, it's crazy for Potter to think of the police as an occupying force. Under the protective mustache of Frank Reagan, the NYPD in Blue Bloods is clean. And those issues are in the distant past, man. Anyone trying to drum that up now is just looking for political capital. The same logic is applied whenever Frank... The show almost always portrays what the mayor is doing as simply the most politically expedient, rather than admit that a
Wait, is that-
might have some merits.
The gun buyback program does some good.
Oh, half the guns we pay $200 for are barely functioning relics.
In another episode, our beloved mayor is shot, and the public advocate Grace Newsom takes over as acting mayor. She has butted heads with Tom Selleck's formidable mustache before, when she stabbed him in the back on a policy decision. Now that she's mayor, her first act is to threaten to fire that mustache if he doesn't get results and make her look good.
The whole world is watching. Whether or not you keep your job will be judged by how you handle the next few days.
Now, I'm not saying that people don't play politics with the police in the real world or on other TV shows. They absolutely do. My favorite cop show, The Wire, spends a ton of time looking at how the police are part of bigger political institutions. But
Oh my God.
everyone is playing politics except for the police. Frank even scoffs at the idea that he might have any political savvy.
But that's a lot of political capital you're asking me to spend.
I really don't know those metrics.
Again and again, Blue Bloods police are attacked from all angles by politicians looking for a quick score. This is another place where the family themes of Blue Bloods rear their head. The NYPD is a family, and they won't be questioned by outside agitators.
Reagan family rule number one. Reagan's gonna talk smack all night long. Outsiders talk smack. There's gonna be a fight.
In the world of Blue Bloods, the police should be allowed to police themselves, which creates a paradox. On the one hand, loyalty is prized above all else, and on the other, it's only cops that can keep cops in check.
But we're talking about humiliating a great cop a few months short of retirement. No one ever laid on their deathbed thinking they should have been tougher on their friends for their missteps.
For the show, being a cop is the number one thing. When Frank catches a corrupt fraternity of cops who were dealing drugs and killed his son, he doesn't say, arrest them. He says,
take their shield.
As a representation of the real world, this is as depressing as it is accurate. Of nearly 2,000 closed complaints of NYPD racial profiling since 2014, the department's inspector general found no wrongdoing. And until June 2020, a law in New York City called 50A made it illegal to disclose police disciplinary records. But Blue Bloods isn't depicting this world to point out flaws in the system. It's actively justifying them, painting the police as an institution beyond reproach, beyond criticism.
Oh my god.
They are a pure institution, the only one capable of cleansing itself. Not only is the police the only thing standing between civil society and violent chaos, but they're the only thing standing in the way of politicians and political correctness. So we've looked at how Blue Bloods silences critics of the police, and how it oversimplifies complicated issues. But why? Why do we care about Blue Bloods, or how much bias it has? Well, I think that Blue Bloods knows its audience really, really well. They're old, they're predominantly white, and they're conservative. There is a ton of signaling to the political right that this is the show for them. I already mentioned that the family is named Reagan, right? On top of that, Frank has a big portrait of Teddy Roosevelt in his office. And as I'm writing this, Washington, D.C. has announced it will remove a statue of him due to his dark history of racism and colonialism. But don't take my word for it, take it from Teddy himself. I don't go so far as to think that the only good Indian is the dead Indian, but I believe that 9 out of every 10 are, and I shouldn't like to inquire.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Spot on Teddy Roosevelt impression. Race is a big talking point in Blue Bloods, just like police brutality. And the Reagan family subscribes deeply to the idea of colorblindness.
Remember this: white, black, blue, purple. We're all the same color on the inside.
Colorblindness is a popular American belief because it allows white people to believe that we got to where we are purely based on merit. And those that haven't just haven't tried hard enough. We've all had struggles, right? White people have risen from poverty. Why can't people of color? Of course, this idea is divorced from reality. As Laura Hudson from Slate writes, quote, "The convenient myth of a colorblind world persists despite all evidence to the contrary. That blacks experience a staggering disparity in arrest rates, that black men are 6 times more likely to be incarcerated than the national average, and that black male teens are 21 times more likely to be killed by the police than whites."
Just try to put yourself in his position. See things from his perspective. A bunch of white cops surrounded his church.
Stop right there. It was a bunch of cops surrounding his church. White, black, Hispanic, female. Anyone who wants to paint my department as being all white, all male, all the time had better check their facts.
Okay, Frank, I'll check those facts. There are 218 episodes of Blue Bloods, and just 2 black characters appear in more than 8. One
Jesus.
who appears in 20 episodes, and the other is a reporter who appears in 21, although she is unnamed for the first 15. For reference, 25% of New York City is black. It's very easy for the Reagan family to claim they don't see race, because everyone on the show is white. This low representation makes the portrayal of Reverend Potter from earlier even more troubling. He's one of the only recurring black characters on the show, and Mr. Stash has this to say about him.
How did this guy get all this power?
Some he grabbed, some he earned. Some we gave him, and it's like over the years. On a silver platter.
Big yikes. Don't get me wrong,
Uh-huh.
racists hate actual racists. Although when they're portrayed, they're cartoonishly evil.
A ham sandwich in the hands of a white person is a weapon in a hate crime.
Easily silenced when Frank protects their free speech with cops of color.
Is some kind of joke? On the contrary, this is a full complement of my finest officers in service to your rights to peaceful assembly and free speech in our fair city.
Dug up every mutt, mongrel, and half-breed to do it.
Take that, racism. But it's hard to argue that the line we just watched isn't racist.
Some we gave him and his like over the years. On a silver platter.
His like we gave on a silver platter? These are obvious dog whistles. We, as white people, have been ceding too much power to these black people.
I'd give my right arm to stick my left foot in your mouth, pal.
Blue Bloods isn't just reinforcing white conservative beliefs about race to its audience, though. It's happy to demonize anything liberal that might remotely challenge that conservative worldview. In one episode, there was a serial sniper taking out drivers of gas-guzzling cars on the highway, and they caught him by finding his favorite organic food place in the East Village.
Better start talking right now before I put my carbon footprint down your ugly head!
In another episode, Danny's sergeant goes on a speech about the good old days of policing.
Now you got guys with master's degrees in tactical police strategies.
Promise, I'm awake.
PhDs in restorative justice, in urban policing.
Your point.
I like this department the way it used to be.
Blue Bloods even finds time to take a shot at MSNBC.
At the end of the day, his vision of the promised land is his own show on MSNBC.
Okay. That is harsh.
And all of this brings me back to where we started this video far too long ago. The image of the police being sold to the 13 million people watching Blue Bloods every week is simply not the same one we're seeing in real footage from cell phones.
What? Oh.
Amount of whiplash to toggle between these worlds. 1 minute, you're watching police pepper spray protesters, drive their cars into crowds of them, and kneel on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Jesus.
And then the next minute, you're seeing this show push the idea that police brutality is simply a hoax to make the police look bad. And there's almost no overlap in the audiences watching these two. If you want to
I think
understand what people think
Ben Shapiro wrote a book where black people or black gang made had a conspiracy where they faked a black shooting, like a cop killing a black guy. No, they put a cop in a situation where he felt like he had to shoot this black kid. Yeah, and that was so they could start like a race war or something. It was very funny, but like it was fucking wild, dude. Oh my god. I am so tired right now. I'm so fucking tired right now. Holy shit, I'm so tired right now. Why am I so tired? Oh my fucking god. I am so tired right now. Holy shit, I have no energy. I'll be back. I'm gonna... I don't know. I'm gonna eat a hamburger. I don't know. I'm gonna just get myself something in my stomach. Keep me awake. I don't know what, though. We'll see. Oh, God. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything. It's so annoying. Let's see. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, my brain.
And how that portrayal doesn't reflect reality. Blue Bloods is all about putting forward a cohesive reality that feels more comfortable and presenting it as fact. It pretends that complicated issues like systemic poverty and conflicts of interest just need a good old dose of good cops. It pretends that police brutality and generational racism are just political talking points. And then it ties it all together under a conservative bow, grouping these beliefs with anti-elite, anti-organic talking points.
Before I put my carbon footprint down your ugly head!
This isn't all in the past either. Even in 2019, with Tom Selleck's mustache gaining a little gray around the edges, he's still lamenting the fall of the good old days.
But if he's using his authority to seduce a young cop, I can't just look the other way, right?
Not in this day and age.
In that episode, a judge recommends termination for a detective with a number of excessive force complaints against him, a decision that everyone immediately assumes is purely political. After all, 3 other investigations clear the detective of any criminal wrongdoing.
You think our own guy would hammer Mackenzie?
If our own guy is now maybe his own guy.
They literally sound like the mob here. The detective is harassed by protesters, and even though Commissioner Mustache won't fire him, the detective quits in anger that the court of public opinion has found him guilty.
And my children, seeing me on TV, every step I take, like a perp walk.
It's the detective that's the victim. And Tommy Sells goes so far as to openly wonder if we should investigate any cops, if the consequences are that they have to face a perp walk, something that the police routinely do to people who have not been convicted of any crime.
Notifying IAB was the right thing to do. The complaints had to be investigated.
I'm not so sure. What good's a book if no one else is reading it?
Yeah, let's just get rid of investigating any excessive force complaints at all. That's the solution we need. In this one storyline, we can see all 3 prongs of the Blue Bloods' approach to propaganda. First, the counter-argument is left blank. We don't get to see the claims of excessive force, or pay any mind to how the system is meant to check police brutality. Because on Blue Bloods, police brutality is rare, if it's even real. It's like Sasquatch. It might exist, but just like 1 or 2 of them out there, tops. More importantly, it oversimplifies a complicated issue. Citizen review boards in New York are at the complete mercy of the NYPD themselves. According to ProPublica editor Eric Umansky, citizen reviews require evidence to be supplied, approved, and filtered by the NYPD, something that is obviously a bottleneck for justice. There are currently thousands of unfilled requests.
The Civilian Oversight Board, the way it gets that footage is it has to send an email request to the NYPD that can decide to fulfill it however it wants, can redact stuff, can say it's not relevant, can do whatever it wants.
Second, the show silences its critics by saying the only reason the judge recommended termination was because he was trying to score political points. And finally, it's all wrapped up in other right-wing talking points. Namely, that PC culture is ruining this country. Remember when you could date your female subordinates?
Not in this day and age.
And all this brings us back to the older, white audience that watches Blue Bloods in droves. Blue Bloods is likely the most common interaction the show's audience has with the police, considering white people are pulled over by police at lower rates nationwide, and interaction with police in suburbs is much more likely to be in traffic stops. The Blue Bloods audience isn't interacting with the police in the same way that protesters or minorities at large are, which gives the show a monopoly of message. And that message is not only inaccurate, but dangerous. Blue Bloods is here to tell you that these stories about the police, those aren't real issues. You remember the police. Police are good. There's nothing to see here. Move along. There is a ton more to talk about with cops on TV, and that's what this series of videos is all about. I think it's a really important time to reflect on our image of the police and how TV has shaped it. And if you think that's important too, maybe consider supporting this project on Patreon. You can get access to my notes, and my reading lists, and my watch lists, and do live Q&As every month, and you can also get more immediate reviews of TV in blog format. There's even still some time to get one of my promotional stickers, which are awesome. They stick to things, they're super cool, they're awesome. Thanks again, everybody, and I hope you stick around for the next episode. It's about those wacky cops over on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I know a lot of people have been talking about Brooklyn Nine-Nine and its approach to propaganda, but mine's gonna be a little different. It's also gonna be about the larger Michael Shannon universe of The Office, Parks and Rec, and even The Good Place. So yeah, get ready for that.
Something
so
else.
Ever since we started this reckoning with the American police system 3 months ago, the show that keeps popping up again and again in critiques of propaganda is Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
These are the Davidsons. They want to know what happened to their missing grandmother?
I have some
Alright. That's cool. Oh god, where is it? I just want to listen to something.
Here, but they didn't think it was enough. So they had Sonic take control away from me to go,
This must be the way to the sky deck.
they just, they really spoon feed it to you. Like, why don't you just tell me where the Chaos Emeralds are while you're at it? Or maybe just let me give the controller to Yuji Naka and have him play through the rest of the game. Sky deck
Oh god.
But Sonic Team would attempt, for the first time, messing with the gravity by moving the angle of the ship.
Okay.
It's a cool idea and takes advantage of it. Jesus, does Sonic Team not know how to do this stuff right? The controls get all flip-flop, and Sonic really gets stuck.
Sorry, I'm just putting myself under a blankie.
This only happens in the last section of the stage, so it's not like it ruins my
So I'm gonna like rest for 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes.
playable characters are in the same place. Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Gamma all kind of have a scene here, and right after, Knuckles, Sonic, and Big fight Chaos, which is a great boss, by the way. You have complete control over the speed in which you beat this guy, which means I don't really mind having to fight him 3 times. You hit these little ice cubes into his mouth and then just hit him. And what's cool is that at this point, Sonic and Knuckles have these moves that charge up. If you hit him with these, it actually does double the damage, which is odd because I don't believe any other bosses in the game are affected by these attacks in this way. I even tried it out on the Robotnik fight with Sonic, but no cigar there. In fact, the opposite happened. I died.
No!
There's some bullshit moves Sonic does where you have to just wait for him to finish his long animations, but you at least have a bit more control. You don't have to be waiting for him all the time. After the fight, Sonic chases after Robotnik, but loses him and gets sidetracked by this temple in the Mystic Ruins. This leads us to our next action stage, the Lost World. This stage is a bit different than the others as it focuses more on puzzle solving and getting through mazes. As a kid, I never really liked this stage much. I think mainly because there's a couple moments where you're just kind of standing around, especially with the Surfin', which acts as a bus that takes you to different keys. It also doesn't help that the camera angle's gay. There's also these switches, which end up being kind of tedious to jump on. I don't quite understand why they don't just have all these walls available to walk on from the start. It's not like it's an especially interesting puzzle. Like whenever the wall lights up, I'm like, aha! Gotcha! You just jump on them until the area you want to run on lights up. It's not like there's something cool. Like For example, let's say we have two segments of wall, which can't be run on no matter how many times you jump on this button. The way to solve this would be to position one section of the wall correctly, and then travel to the other switch to properly set up the path for the player to use to progress. Now obviously, there's the issue of how to communicate a puzzle like this to the player so that they're not lost or frustrated. And a puzzle like this isn't even something most players would do, since the spin dash makes so many puzzle sections in the game trivial, including this one as it already is. It's why I can only give observations, as to properly see if something would work, you'd need to be able to test it with the mechanics and make sure there's no exploits the cheeky player can use to bypass all your hard work. As I've gotten older, I've grown a fondness for this level though, just for its variety. They really went nuts and threw everything.
Why did I only give myself...
Slides, this puzzle where you have to raise the water and use the
My tomato timer is set wrong.
nifty first-person minigame, and even though I
Who knows, maybe I should just sleep for half an hour though, at some point after this.
That's probably why this part was even put in the first place. They just thought it'd be cool. After finishing the stage, Sonic comes to this strange ancient room where the red energy ball gives him a flashback.
What's this place? Where am I? This is really weird.
This is the old Mystic Ruins, before they were ruins, I guess. It's absolutely huge, which I don't quite understand. They only really exist to give you exposition, but they decided to spend their time making a huge map with all these guys that look like Knuckles hanging out in it. I mean, I appreciate the effort, but I think this might be the biggest area in the game to explore. It's at least second to the Mystic Ruins, and this shit is just to activate a couple cutscenes and give Tails a gay little ribbon. You go here with every character, and each time it gives you a bit more pieces of things, like the origins of the Chaos Emeralds and what caused the civilization to die out and why Chaos is so mad all the time. But I never, ever gave a fuck about any of this crap as a kid. I can understand them wanting to explain what this guy's deal is, but the Chaos Emeralds don't really need to be explained.
I thought it was cool.
Because they make me turn yellow, and I don't need to know why Knuckles has to defend the Emerald. I just know that's his shit. He's all about that responsibility for his island. He loves protecting that thing. Like, why do you need to know why Knuckles is guarding the Master Emerald? What difference does it make? Didn't change anything in your life. 9/11 still happened. There's still slave trade in Libya. Hey, by the way, you think Leonardo DiCaprio and that bitch from the Titanic would have stuck around together if he didn't die? I think they would have gotten sick of each other. Oh god, I forgot we're supposed to be chasing Robotnik. While we're fucking around, he launched a nuke and ruined the street next to the casino. Time for the last stage, and it rules. The music is very energetic in the stage, and it keeps the gimmicks to a minimum. The stage also has some more difficult and interesting platforming sections compared to the rest. It's also another stage that's structured vertically at times, although it's unique in that it's in the downward direction, which can basically be skipped by doing a well-timed homing attack, but I don't want to complain, because this is cool. It gives you the feeling of going deeper and deeper into the core. We're going to fight this dude. This guy's been being a dick for the whole game, and we're finally going to bring the heat, and on his home turf, too. The stage is then followed by the end boss of Sonic.
It's a really fun level.
It's a really, really good fight. This is how you do a fixed boss fight that runs on cycles.
Yeah, that fight's really good.
You have to be mobile to get away from his missiles. Every time he throws one of these things out at you, by the way, he says this. Get a load of this. Which is what Harvey Weinstein said when he came in that plant. There's a nice progression of difficulty as well. At first he just gives you a hit for free, almost like he's cocky. But as it goes on, he puts a line in your way, which you have to homing attack over. But what rules about this boss is that this shit tells a story of desperation and frustration. Robotnik at some point destroys half the stage and starts breaking the floors you're standing on, trying to do anything to limit your movement. He starts playing less calculated, just trying to ram you with the buzzsaws, which ends up getting him hit faster. His dialogue changes too. It goes from this condescending challenge
See if you can make it through here, Sonic.
to being audibly pissed off.
He's not gonna get away with it.
This boss kicks ass. It's fun to play, it's super dynamic, great storytelling, it's perfect honestly. Probably the best moment in the game. Now, Robotnik could have just rammed both of these sections of platforms and killed Sonic right away. But if he did that, we would not have a game. And you'd be getting pissed because the game would be impossible to beat. And you'd go on GameFAQs and say, what the fuck, why can't I beat Robotnik? This game's gay as fuck. Why did I even buy a Dreamcast? I should have just bought Hydro Thunder instead. And then somebody would respond, actually, his name is Eggman, not Robotnik. It was only named that because of the English translation from the Genesis games. Like, he doesn't even make an attempt to help you or answer your question. Also, Jesus Christ, I'm done. Jeez, that was a lot of fun. That was a whole 3 hours. That's just not going to cut it for a big 3D release in 1998. The issue is that Sonic Adventure is still using the same design framework from the 2D games, just with some big 3D overworlds to get you from one Genesis stage to the next. And because of the development time, Sonic Adventure is about as long as its Genesis counterparts. This isn't a bad thing by any means. If anything, this constant flow of new content makes playing through Sonic's story incredibly entertaining and very fun to revisit. It's just that the experience will be shorter. I don't think it's a stretch to say that the levels in a Sonic game take a lot longer to design than the average platformer either, which doesn't help much with the length. To top this off, the developers are now needing to work in 3D, which they didn't have much experience with. Even Nights into Dreams plays more like a 2D arcade game with polygonal graphics. These problems weren't exclusive to any company. Most developers were not comfortable with 3D game development yet, especially with creating big and detailed maps. If we look at Mario 64 again, they cut down a huge amount of development time by structuring the game differently than the previous one. They went with these open stages because it allows for you to spend a lot of time in the same areas, identifying and solving objectives, which in this game rewards you with a star. This pads the game out in a way where the player won't even notice that they aren't seeing much new content in the game, because your objective is on finding these stars through exploring these maps, not making your way through linear levels. And good for them. These guys were smart. Can you fucking imagine how much of a pain in the ass it must have been when 3D first started being the standard? Having to write this bullshit in C and assembly. I'd have fucking killed myself doing that crap. Sonic Team chose a different and slightly clumsier way to add more length to the game. They looked back at Sonic 3 and Knuckles and did something similar to what they did with Knuckles in that game. In Sonic 3, it's a lot of fun to replay the game as Knuckles because he has some different abilities to Sonic which allow him to reach secret areas. To make it extra engaging, the story ends up derailing from Sonic's path and ends up with a completely different final boss fight. Only this time, they could further specialize these characters by giving them a specific playstyle and changing the stages to fit this. You now play through the game 5 other times as different characters after completing Sonic's story, allowing us to see previous events from their perspective. And you know, it's really sad to see that even Sonic Team, a game development studio, couldn't resist trying to do their own Pulp Fiction in the 90s.
But you know what's on my mind right now? It ain't the Chaos Emerald. It's the dead nigger in my garage.
Oh.
Jesus! Whoa, he actually played that. What the fuck?
But I think people who argue this might not completely understand how many resources go into making a new character in some.
Oh no, that was live on stream and now everyone heard that. No. Quentin, why?
But if you don't include the stuff they tried on the Sonic Adventure probably only had like 1 to 2 years of development, especially since it was a one. So yeah, it sucks, but I wouldn't really blame the developers as much as Sega for being huge cunts and rushing them. But even then, I can't blame them either. They're just trying to get it out for Christmas so they can make a return on investment like any company wants to do. So actually, you should be blaming yourself for being a fucking consumeristic whore. So if I'm gonna play Mr. Pragmatic here, let's break down how little work goes into actually making the other characters for this game. Starting with the characters themselves. Because all the logic for Sonic has already been made, they can, for the most part, completely reuse him for all the other characters. You can notice this with the fact that they all have the same structure of their state machines. Also, I've used the word state machine enough that I think I should explain what that is for some people who might not know. To make things simple, a state machine is important in games because they help to conceptualize how to go about making an AI or playable character with any form of depth by having them be a set of states. That may sound a little bit complicated, so let's make an example. Let's build a state machine of a person who can throw a ball. Like, let's really do this. I know this is a review of Sonic, but fuck it, you're gonna learn something cool. Their default state would be normal, just standing around, not holding anything. But from this state, they
I think the older I got, the more I started to appreciate
now being in this state is
Big the Cat's stage.
throwing and dropping. Entering either of these states, we won't have a ball in our hands anymore and will return back to our default state. A real state means that we can't be in 2 states at the same time. For instance, I can't simultaneously be throwing a ball while in my default state where I don't have one, or dropping the ball while it's still in my hand. Let's look at Sonic state machines now, which are almost just as simple as the one we just made. He starts at an idle, and from there he can jump, start accelerating, or rev up that spin dash. From his jump, he can do a homing attack, or press B to do a light speed dash if he has one charged. Otherwise, he is kind of I'm not even really sure why this is the thing he does. In a spin dash, he can hold it a bit to charge the light speed dash, or let go of the button to get a burst of acceleration. That's basically the crux of it if you don't count things like when Sonic is in the air, but not in his jump state, or the state Sonic enters when he's on a ladder. Anyways, getting back to different characters, I promise this ends up being connected. The point is that all of these other characters basically have the exact same state machine. This means less development time, as it's just changing what those states are. Instead of the homing attack, Tails flies, Knuckles glides, Gamma hovers, and Big and Amy don't even have a state. Instead of spin dashing, Tails spins, Knuckles punches, Amy hits with her hammer, Big casts his line, and Gamma aims. But that's it in terms of changes. Other than that, they're all still Sonic, except they have different constants for acceleration and top speed. There's only two characters that have any unique states in their own, and that's Knuckles with his wall climbing, and Amy, who enters a different running state when at top speed, which also opens up a high jump state she can enter from it. It makes her a cool character. So the characters can be made fairly quickly. But what about the story though? Well, a lot of the cutscenes are shared from Sonic's story, but with different dialogue and writing. Now that takes a bit of extra time from the people writing the scripts, but actually recording probably isn't that bad. What is that, an extra couple of days? These few extra things are a small trade-off for a fuck ton of things they didn't need to make more of, mainly the stage assets and designs. Tails stages are just shorter versions of Sonic's with some shortcuts to take advantage of his ability to fly, for instance. That's not to say that there's no new content, it's just that instead of gulping down content, you're just kind of sipping on it. Tails has a unique final boss, Knuckles has some unique places he can get to in his stages. He's actually really unique, and I'll talk more about her later. Big has his own version of Emerald Coast with original music. Gamma has original bosses, but altogether the work needed to do all of this is probably not much more than maybe 3 new levels for Sonic, I'd wager. And that's 3 stages that could possibly be beat in a total of 10 minutes, compared to 3 or 4 hours of game that the other characters collectively give, which adds up to like 8 or so hours of gameplay. And for Sega, that must have sounded pretty fucking good. Now, I'm not saying that this was all cynically done just to make development time shorter and to milk more content. There's enough effort into these other stories to make them fun to play still. And the story is obviously meant to have this whole thing going on from different perspectives, but it sure doesn't hurt, that's for sure. Now, I'm not going into every character as deep as I did Sonic because I actually respect the finite amount of time you have to live in this world, and I don't want to be repetitive. But we'll go through how the other characters play, work in their levels, and the things unique to them. We'll start off with the guy you get right after Sonic. Shit! Okay, let's go with Knuckles. Jesus Christ, before I start, you ever notice how fucking bad Sonic team is at making character names? Like, oh, we have a fox with 2 tails. Okay, let's call him Tails. And then there's another character with protruding knuckles. So let's call him Knuckles. And then there's this character we made. It's a big cat character. Oh, we'll call him Big. Like, it must have taken all of their mental energy not to name Sonic Legs. Especially now where he looks like he should be in the NBA playoffs. Like, Sonic is so tall in 06, I'm surprised they didn't bring Jaleel White back to voice him. Knuckles is my fucking guy. He has 5 stages to explore in the game, and I do mean explore. This is one of the coolest things derived from Sonic 3. Knuckles was all about exploration in that game. So Sonic Team took this to its logical conclusion and had you running around an open area trying to find 3 pieces of his Master Emerald, which got broken by chaos. These stages are done pretty quick, but it's enjoyable following the radar and using Knuckles' speed to try and find these pieces as fast as possible. I want to bring up again that I do think playing as different characters was a decision made fairly early on in development, or at least the concept. Sonic's whole
Sorry,
story
I keep falling asleep.
the characters fill. But also, the stages are even structured at times to fit different characters' playstyles. Knuckles' first stage is a great example of this. It's just
This is really bad.
From Sonic, which felt kind of odd compared to the rest of the stage when playing as him, but now feels appropriate with Knuckles' gameplay. The point is that unlike the Mario 64 example I used earlier, where these things feel more natural and work really well, Sonic Adventure's multiple characters end up working their way into the stages in such an awkward way at times that it feels like a hack instead of an actual solution, which is why in the sequel, every character had their own specialized stages instead of playing through the same ones. I think Casinopolis is one of Knuckles' better stages though, or at the very least is more memorable, mainly because of how detailed this higher portion is that only Knuckles can access. The pirate ship is especially fun to mess around in. Along Knuckles' trip to getting his emerald shards back, he sees Robotnik slow walking into an elevator with a microscopic emerald. We get 2 new things here. First off is this room with
God, my brain hurts.
and Knuckles
Fuck.
gets to fight a version of Chaos that no one else in the game even gets to see. Things like this really help in making these characters not so
I wonder if it's because I just quit cigarettes. That's probably why.
What? What about Sonic? He's after the pieces of the Master Emerald too. What do you mean? You're not the only one on a chase, idiot.
Oh my god, my brain hurts.
This is a bit retarded. You know, because he falls for the same trick Knuckles played on him in 3 and Knuckles, saying Sonic
37.
He's really just trying to get the Chaos Emeralds. But think about it for a second. Knuckles spends a lot of time by himself, hanging out on his island. Because of this, he's probably a little socially inept.
Hey, Knuckles! Whoa! What do you think you're doing?
So it makes sense that he'd be a little more gullible and all that. One thing I think is interesting is that Sonic doesn't say, "Wow, I can't believe you fell for this, stupid." He says, "I can't believe you fell for this shit again."
Knuckles, did you let him trick you again?
Which implies that the Genesis games in this game exist in the same canon, which is just strange. If this is the same canon, then why are they even in this area of the world at all? Why aren't they still on Angel Island? Are they still on Angel Island? I mean, Knuckles knows when it's fallen, but maybe he just knows what's up with it because he has that connection to the island. I can't imagine it's the same because there weren't any people mucking around on Angel Island in Sonic 3, just animals. So did they all decide to move together, like to the same place? What the fuck happened that made them move? Maybe the taxes just got too high. The only really forgettable stage Knuckles plays through is Lost World. This is because this stage is literally the exact same as Sonic's. Hell, Sonic could even go up the walls in this stage, so Knuckles really has nothing going on that's original here. An issue is also that this stage is fairly small. Before this, you got to play Red Mountain, which is just huge, and it's a nice mix of vertical and horizontal stage design, which Lost World doesn't really have. It's just a big thing you have to climb up. But what the fuck? This music is grooving so fucking hard. Listen to this shit.
It's like unplugged and plugged back in my computer constantly. It's so annoying.
3/4 time signature is killing me. It's so good. This is definitely my favorite track in the game. It'd almost be out of place if it wasn't so good. We're in some old South American temple. You'd think there'd be a little bit more ambiance, but instead you get hit with this awesome groove and this E piano doing some great improv. And I'm about to blow a fucking load over this bass. This kicks the hell out of Sonic's music for the stage. I don't know, it's a bit too spooky for me. Makes me feel like I'm in Jurassic Park. I've been talking a little bit about the music throughout the review, but it really is great. Nakamura wasn't working for Sega at this point, and Michael Jackson couldn't work on it since he was too busy with kids. So they got a couple people actually, mainly Jun Yu, who has a lot of energy to his tracks and worked on basically any track that has a guitar in it. I also have to give a shout out to Fumi Kumatami though, since she not only did this song for Knuckles that I love so much, but she also did Gamma and Beta's themes, which are just they're too good. And she also did the music for the Chow stuff and some other tracks that are scattered throughout. Having a couple different people do the music led to a pretty diverse soundtrack.
Oh god, dude, I need to sleep.
Jazz and house inspired. Jun Yu has a big rock influence, and Kenichi Tokoi, who also did a decent number of tracks for the game, is all over the place in terms of genre. The music is consistently good too.
Hey, I might go to bed for like
in the background occasionally. I know they made a vinyl
30 minutes.
Jesus Christ, I have to get my hands on that. To wrap things up on Knuckles,
yeah,
some pretty fun
or
gameplay.
20.
In Adventure 2, these stages would start to become really long and
22 minutes.
mainly since they nerfed the radar. But here they're pretty quick.
I'll be awake soon, okay?
One thing that's disappointing about Knuckles is that he's the only
I just need to sleep for a good tiny bit.
Well,
Close my eyes for a tiny bit.
it's just they try to mix it up and make it more difficult by having this part of the stage that you can't touch without getting hurt. But it's a bit trivial since I end up gliding everywhere with Knuckles anyways. I guess it can be slightly forgiven since he did have his own unique boss during the midpoint. It just feels a little anticlimactic. Also, before I move on to other characters, what is Knuckles supposed to be? And I don't mean animal-wise. I'm asking if he's a black guy. This shit became more confusing in Sonic Adventure. In Sonic 3, characters didn't talk, but Knuckles did have shoes that were based on the Jamaican flag, and he also had dreads. So Knuckles was supposed to be Jamaican, which I can totally buy because I've played Sonic at the Olympic Games, and Knuckles is remarkable at bobsledding. But now things are just complicated. Now he's descendant of some weird Mayan, Aztec, Incan civilization. I mean, I'm not saying there's no black people in Latin America, that'd be ridiculous. But they weren't really hanging out there until the Western slave trade started. But it's even more weird because now rap music plays wherever he goes, which, I mean, you know, happens with every black person. His theme is great too, at least until Bruno Mars shows up.
Streaky lights, loud sounds, and instincts are the elements that keep.
Fuck Hawaii. But Jamaicans don't listen to rap music. I mean, at least it's not like, doesn't seem like a big part of their culture. Same thing with Peruvians, or Mexicans, or any South Americans for that instance. So is Knuckles like an American black guy? He never steals anything. Actually, fuck.
Give me the emeralds you have, right now!
Okay, but look, I'm not being racist, alright? I know that previously, I've said some rude things about people of the African American variety.
Like chilling at the beach or calling the police on some minorities.
Very harmful things about the people in these communities.
He even has enough money to buy a slave. They also tried going after the black demographic by making the console cheaper.
But I need to let you guys know that I'm turning over a new leaf here. You see, I was walking down the street yesterday, and while walking, I saw this black guy in a blue shirt. So, of course it's like, uh-oh, and I did that thing where you start walking on the edges of the sidewalk, so you don't make any contact with them. But as he got closer, I realized this guy actually had a Sonic shirt on. And I realized I was wrong. And I really shouldn't have had that prejudice for this guy. If he had chosen to wear a different shirt, I would have just kept assuming that I shouldn't talk to him since we're from different upbringings. And how can I do that? How can I make such a vast judgment on a guy over variables in his life that he doesn't even control? If he wore a normal blue shirt, instead of assuming he was in a gang, I should have maybe thought, hey, maybe blue is just his favorite color. Because you can't just be looking at somebody as a series of collectives, but as an individual with hopes and dreams and people that he loves, just like me. So I went up to the guy and I said, hey man, did you like Sonic Mania? He took my wallet. Amy's story is actually really cool since it's full of original content. Her first stage is Twinkle Park, but you spend most of the time in a mirror room that Sonic doesn't go into. It's a playful area too. It'll mess with the controls sometimes and you'll need to control the reflections instead of the normal character models. It also has original music, which gives the whole place an uneasy atmosphere. And her second level is the Hot Shelter, which Sonic doesn't fuck with at all. It's a great refresh after playing through Tails and Knuckles' shit, which while they both offer some new things, Amy is the first character to really offer an almost completely different experience. Her whole thing is more about platforming and puzzle solving than speed, but implements a need to rush a bit by placing this little monkey fella in the stage who will show up throughout the level to chase you around. He's also invincible, meaning that while you can't stun him, the viable strategy is to try and run as fast as possible to the next part of the stage. Now you can't have something like this in a Sonic game, something that chases you and is supposed to be threatening, without making them as fast as Sonic, which at that point would just make the whole thing this weird mix of comical and terrifying. So to compensate, Amy has a really slow acceleration to top speed, which does give a good sense of anxiety with this big fucker chasing you everywhere, but makes the overworld just a bitch to use. One point is especially bad where you finish Amy's last stage, and you have to go through the entire jungle, and to make things worse, you have to climb this long-ass ladder, and goddamn, her climbing speed is abysmal. It takes her like 20 seconds to climb it, which is enough time to listen to about a ninth of the Snake Eater theme. It even takes place in a jungle, look at that. Not much else to say about her though. Her gameplay is definitely interesting, and it's impressive that they were able to change the way the game feels just by messing around with some values and adding in the stalker robot. Most of the characters in Sonic Adventure were designed as a way to show off the Dreamcast a bit. The most obvious of which being Knuckles and Tails, who show off the scale and draw distance of the game, and Gamma demonstrates all the crap they could shove on the screen without the frame rate dying. Lots of enemy hitboxes and explosions everywhere. But Big might be the most shameless, as he's just kind of a commercial. I don't really get what's so bad about Big. Like, what is it about this guy that gets everyone so angry all the time? That guy just wants to fucking fish. His story takes around 30 minutes to complete, even with the unescapable cutscenes, which I understand is just basically saying, the game only sucks dick for like a little bit, but it's not that. His gameplay is so different from the others that it feels more like a minigame, and because of that, it's got some novelty to it. Not to mention he gets this great music on his version of Emerald Coast. Sonic Team says Big was made because they wanted a character that wasn't always in a rush, but I know the real reason. They wanted to create more intrigue for the player, like a lure in the water if you will, to try and bring people over to the world of fishing games on the Dreamcast, and that they might take a bite out of the lure and pay some money for a full price game all about fishing. And you might think those games are pretty dumb sports games, but fuck you if you think that shit. These games are fucking fire, and if you got one of those fishing controllers, these games become so comfy it's unreal. But Big never really hooks you like that. Like, it's a fun distraction, but it's nowhere near as deep as games dedicated to these mechanics. And I just remember being confused as to what I needed to do. Like, I knew I had to throw my lure in the water, like I'm not a complete tard, but I never knew what to do when the little frog bit it. It wasn't until later that I learned I had to press up a lot on the stick to start reeling him in. Because of not knowing this, I was never able to beat these stages as a kid, which was very frustrating. I think that's why Big is so hated, actually. Because his story is pretty inoffensive in terms of length and content, but when you don't know what to do and you need to beat his stages, or you don't get to experience the ending of the game because of this stupid idiot that's like, Froggy, you just fucking hate him. So it seems like SA1 is a game that starts out high and just gets a bit lower in quality as it goes on. Sonic is fantastic. Knuckles' gameplay is fun enough, and they kept this whole shtick from Sonic 3 where he can go places Sonic can't due to his ability to climb walls. Amy is alright and breaks things up, but overall isn't really as fun to play as with her slow speed, which brings her down even though she has the advantage of having very different stages from the rest of the cast, along with some interesting platforming gameplay. And Big is fine. It's almost a linear decline, story by story. So you assume the last story is just going to be mediocre, but that's where you're wrong. E102 Gamma might just be the best part of Sonic Adventure in terms of story. You'd think Sonic's would be the most polished in the game, but no, it's the robot. For some reason, Sonic Team just decided to make this random-ass character that never existed before and make his story a masterpiece, like as a joke or something. The other characters are in the story, but I wouldn't say they're crucial to his plot. So it's good even if you don't know anything about Sonic, which you can't really say for most of these stories. The story opens up with an introduction from your creator, Dr. Robotnik.
You're the second of my E100 model machines!
To make sure you work properly, you play through his testing chamber where you'll shoot dolls of Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic. After testing out the stage, Robotnik decides that only one robot can come on his ship and forces you to fight your brother Beta.
I am pitting the two of you against each other, and the winner serves on my ship.
Right off the bat, this kind of establishes that this doctor is a huge douchehole because he's forcing you to fight your brother just for his own trivial fun and his desire to only have the strongest robots on his ship. Some shit happens involving finding a frog to loosely connect the other stories and gives you an excuse to go through Emerald Hill. Emerald Coast. Sorry about that, it's getting a bit late. But the real shit comes after. Gamma is told to head to a room on the ship, but you end up going into this room instead and seeing something insane. This scene is fucking amazing. There's basically no dialogue, just taking in his brother being mutilated and enhanced. The end of the cutscene is just great too.
This is the wrong room.
Not only is this funny in a kind of dark way, but it shows that Gamma, even though he's trying to remain objective, has had something open up in him, making him just a bit skeptical of his creator. It doesn't help that right after this event, he goes to see Amy, where the bird ends up convincing Gamma to free them both by just staring at him for a bit, which makes sense later. Both of these events start to really fuck with Gamma's unconscious, but still not totally, as he does comply with Robotnik in the following scene and attempts to kill Sonic. Amy ends up stopping it by going, we're friends, don't hurt people, and decides that he's done being Robotnik's bitch. He's going to do his own shit. The self-monologue he does while leaving the egg carrier is just great. The screen flashes images of these things that have influenced Gamma to make this decision, getting faster and faster before turning into radio noise. And cuts to Gamma, who says probably the most punk shit I've ever heard in my life.
Dr. Robotnik. Enemy. Master registration deleted.
At this point in the story, it's now completely independent from the rest of these weirdos. There's no Sonic or Amy or even Robotnik. Just Gamma deciding he's going to free all the animals trapped in his robot bros. I haven't talked much about the stages, but man, they're really cool too. I just wish more of them were like Hot Shelter. This stage is fairly lengthy, not to mention challenging. Gamma has a clock that counts down instead of up, and will kill him if it falls to 0. To replenish this time, you can hold the B button to lock onto as many enemies as possible and shoot for high combos. Nowadays, this stage isn't difficult, but it actually used to kill me sometimes as a kid. In the other stages, there's really no risk. You get so much time, and the stages are so short that you probably get past them even without shooting any enemies. It's kind of sad because some tension would make these stages that much more fun and rewarding. But that's not to say it isn't inherently fun shooting huge amounts of enemies though. It's a great way to show off how many objects the Dreamcast can handle. Before moving on, I just want to mention how fun Gamma's states are. At full speed, he'll start rolling on wheels and go, mode change.
Mode change.
And this shit he does when he's on a body of water so he doesn't get wet is so fucking cute. I love this thing they do at the end of levels where Gamma names off the robots he saved and the ones still remaining. It seems pointless at first, but it starts to get really cool once you go back to the sunken egg carrier. And the game plays this great fucking music that doesn't play anywhere else in the game. It's so triumphant and just gets you pumped to finish saving the last 2 robots.
E-Series data. Beginning search. Accessing data. Hot shelter. E-Series location confirmed. Unlocking hot shelter sector now.
This thing leads to what might be one of my favorite payoffs of any game, honestly. It's unreal. After beating all 3 of the other robots, this great fucking cutscene plays.
Gamma. Beta.
Okay, I think I need to explain what I love about this. First of all, I love that it's just silent with the sound effects at first. It makes it more meaningful when Gamma's music starts playing. And then when the new form of Beta comes flying in, ready for the rematch, the music transitions into the theme of Beta, which wouldn't do much for me really, if it wasn't for the fact that Beta's theme is fucking amazing, and also turns the track from this ambient synth into some hype-ass house beat with a sax in it. If there's one thing I do when making this game, it'd be to let the theme for Beta override the normal overworld music, to keep the energy going. I'd also want to preload Beta into this area, meaning that you can just seamlessly confront this motherfucker with no downtime once I enter that area. Do all this shit where it zooms in on the boss and displays their name, and while that's happening, preload all the invisible walls around the area. This should be pretty bug-free as long as you just walk Beta from exiting the area. Now I understand this couldn't be done because they probably had all these algorithms made in a way that would probably be pretty specialized for the set of things they wanted to do, with not much lenience for changes since they had to get this thing out to the stores in a reasonable time. But if I was in charge of making the game, and I had unlimited time, I would put this in as a specialty thing, like somewhere else in the game, just here, just because I really think it would be that cool. This is because Beta Mark II is a fucking awesome fight. They build him up the whole of Gamma's story, and he's a lot of fun. I like that he hits your bullets out of the way. No other bosses in the game really react to you when you try to spam hitboxes at them, except for maybe Chaos 2 as Knuckles. The animations where he teleports away and leaves a trail in his path is fantastic as well. My favorite moment is definitely when the camera shifts to a view of Beta from high up, and you have to control Gamma and avoid attacks from this strange perspective. There's so much unique shit with this boss, actually. It makes me wish that they didn't just use Chaos for almost every boss fight, because these more unique ones are my absolute favorite. I do think they could have done something cool at Gamma's countdown, though, in the fight. It counts down from 3 minutes, but isn't really used for any interesting way that makes the boss more fun, and it was probably arbitrarily chosen, as it shouldn't even take you longer than slightly half that to beat Beta. He shoots these small guys out. Maybe you start me off with like 30 seconds, and I have to balance whether to be spending my time gaining more time with a combo or to take a risk and go for a hit against Beta. But again, they had no time to make this game. The ending is incredibly tasteful. Again, no dialogue or anything. Gamma accomplishes his mission, saving all his brothers, and in one last action, Beta shoots Gamma, allowing the bird in him to be free as well. Originally, Sega planned on having Gamma shoot himself to free the bird. This is why in the previous cutscene he's looking at his gun while saying his name. Unfortunately, they changed it so that Beta shoots him before dying, which is fine and has a different feeling to it, but I just love the idea of that shit. Sonic's story is a cutscene in a video game, but Gamma's is definitely above that. I wouldn't call it a movie or a film, but I would call it a flick. It's obvious shit, but I also like how Gamma's normally robotic-sounding theme is reprised as a natural piano for when he's freed from the robot. Well, you know, as natural-sounding as you can get from what sounds like an M1 synth. The fact that shit this good is just shoved into what's essentially a glorified Dreamcast advertisement is borderline offensive. They should have made a spin-off with this kind of shit, like how that one guy that made the Digimon movie went on to make Summer Wars because he was pissed off that his great fucking idea for a story got wasted on a fucking Digimon OVA. After completing everyone's story in the game, a new one opens up. What's dumb is that it tries to be mysterious by having the model be a question mark, but the name under it literally just says Super Sonic. The story is full of cutscenes, okay, so get ready. It turns out that Chaos wasn't killed on the Ark even though he got beat 3 times, and instead was just mucking about looking for the emeralds again. He ends up taking back the 6 emeralds Knuckles brought with him after his story, and now Sonic needs to rush to the Tornado 2 before Chaos can get the emeralds in there. But first, Takal needs to show him one of her flashbacks.
Oh, jeez!
We find out that her tribe was trying to use the Chaos Emeralds to win wars against other nations, and it's just impossible to take seriously because everybody just looks like Knuckles. In this, we learn Chaos turned evil because of all this shit, and I'm just thinking, we need to get to the fucking Emerald. People are about to die.
Sonic, wake up!
I was on a snooze cruise, I guess.
Good thing you're okay.
I don't think either of you are okay.
Come!
Ew, that's gross as fuck. I'm so happy I didn't play your story. They end up finding the tornado just in time to watch Chaos take it from them, which means one of two things. Either Tikal completely fucked over Sonic by making him space out and miss his chance to get the Emerald, or Chaos was just being cheeky and already knew the Emerald was there and was just waiting for Sonic to show up so he could snipe it from him. Either way, you probably don't mind because you want to see this shit happen. You know, the game has been teasing that he becomes this serpent-looking thing for a while, so it's finally time to see that paid off. And it is with what is still an incredibly well done and beautifully pre-rendered cutscene. Let's give it a watch because it is still great.
Yo, I'm about to bust this fat ass nut for you motherfuckers. Oh shit, nigga. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Fuck. Shit. Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake, it's like Robotnik's airship again. Jesus, they sure lost a lot by not getting that emerald in time. A bunch of fucking people just died. Like, people were in their cars just driving. People are just walking around. You really fucked up, Sonic. This thing is so tough, even Robotnik's backup egg carrier can't even make a dent. But it's all good, because now that we've seen all the backstory for Tikal, she can actually help us now. Chaos absorbed all the power from the emeralds, and Tikal has decided that he has to go back.
He must be sealed in the Master Emerald now!
How can that help? It won't change how he feels inside, will it? His heart will still remain in turmoil, and his anger just won't vanish.
So Sonic has another idea. His friends say, "Aw, you know, he absorbed the negative energy."
Chaos only used the negative power of the emeralds.
Which, how the fuck do you know that, Tails? But because Sonic is all about that positive energy, he can use them. Oh shit, I skipped some games, so you might be confused right now. Okay, so Sonic can transform into a Super Saiyan now when he gets all the Chaos Emeralds. This is brought over from Sonic 2 and 3, where if you get all the Chaos Emeralds in some minigames, Sonic can turn into this invincible guy who can plow into enemies like it's no problem. I don't even know what happens if you get all the Emeralds in Sonic 1. I think you get like some shit in the mail, and you get to meet Yuji Naka, and he gives you a coupon for a free Happy Meal. The hype behind this shit is real though when you're an 8-year-old. Kids who wore shirts with flames on them would definitely flex at recess about getting all the super emeralds and shit. But really in these games it's kind of a pain in the ass, especially in Sonic 3. When you're trying to enjoy the really great music composed by Michael Jackson, and because you press A while in the air, it's like, oh fuck, I didn't know I had 50 rings. You know what? Fuck Super Sonic. I don't care. He's just yellow and annoying. In this game, having it be a predefined thing that just happens at the end point isn't so bad. Sonic is already so fast, he becomes hard to control at times, and I can't imagine adding more speed would do anything but be a hindrance. And invincibility isn't hot shit anymore either like it was in the 2D games, because enemies aren't really that big of a threat to Sonic anymore since you can see them from a mile away now. It helps that the actual fight is pretty fun too. It's an enjoyable balancing game of trying to avoid Chaos's attacks while also trying to collect rings and keep from dying, and keeping your speed high enough so that you can inflict damage. It's also very fun to skate around on the water, I think mainly due to this little texture. Playing the opening theme during this section is great also. It's pretty fucking shonen anime, I like it. But after beating him, he goes into round 2, which has some more complex geometry to maneuver around, as well as Chaos's AI throwing out a lot more shit at you. It's a genuine challenge, but for some reason the music is replaced with this tense orchestral track. It fits the boss, but I just wish they put it at the beginning of the fight and had round 2 play the opening instead. I think it would have brought a lot more hype, but I also get that they want to carry over the energy from the cutscene before the boss, so maybe just have both of them play the theme and use this track for another boss? I don't know, it's a great boss regardless. I guess hitting Chaos a bit was all it took to make him chill out. Anyways, after this, wait a second, there is nothing after this. I'm done. Jesus fucking Christ. So let's finish this up. My thoughts on this game have been a bit scattered, but it's a scattered game. This medium is a marriage between engineering and art.
Especially a character like this, which is fairly complex.
Sonic Adventure doesn't have the best engineering or the best art even, but it does do things right where it matters. Sonic is fun to play as. The art direction on stages and the overworld are great, even if the models don't show the best examples of what the Dreamcast can do. Would it be better if it had better art, the camera worked better, and you couldn't clip out of the levels? Of course. But would it really make it that much better? And that's why I didn't complain about them. My issues come from the repetitiveness of playing through the other characters, and the fact that some of these characters just aren't really fun to play as for more than a little bit. There's also the issue of how boring it is to play Sky Chase a total of 4 times. These are what keeps Sonic Adventure from being a great game, not the things that nowadays would just get fixed with patches. I really do think Sonic Team cared about this game, even if they fucked up a lot. There's a lot of care put into things, especially aesthetically. To get an idea of how the Mystic Ruins would be, like in terms of looks and the music and all that, the developers actually took a full tour for research, from southern Mexico to Central America and then South America. And it's really a miracle, you know, because they survived. It's why Tails has this little mini-game where he rides down the desert. It comes from hanging out in Peru and seeing that shit, so of course they put it in. It's fucking riding down the desert on a snowboard. But a studio wouldn't do this if they were cynically just doing their job to make money for their bosses. You do this because you give a shit, and you want to make something cool. And I think I respect that passion in a game more than just technically solid and smooth experiences. There's no such thing as a perfectly programmed game or a perfectly planned game, because these things are made by people at the end of the game. One of my favorite games is Earthbound for the Super Nintendo. In fact, it might even be my favorite, and it has tons of problems. The difficulty is terribly balanced.
Oh god, I mute myself the whole fucking time? I'm back. Okay, I'm gonna message Gracie on Discord, see if she's free to hang out with.
The sprites aren't the best for its time. Menu navigation is incredibly janky and frustrating, and it has a whole dungeon dedicated to managing this shit inventory.
Oh? Oh, Gracie, you're back. Oh, God. Oh, God, I'm so tired. Hey, Gracie, do you want to get on call? Help keep me awake right now? Are you free right now to keep me awake on call over voice call? Okay. Fuck yeah. Let me just pull up Discord real quick. God. So tired. I'm so tired. Gonna pass out soon. Oh my god. All gay? AI gay? AI is pretty gay. I'm really tired. Hello? Can you hear me?
No, you're unmuted.
Oh god, I'm so fucking exhausted right now.
Me too.
Really? Alright. I'll change the stream title to Very Sweepy. Very Sweepy stream. Just for the heck of it. How are you doing? How's your business? Are you making $1 billion yet on your new business technology, which is doing yard work?
It's going good, going well.
Mm.
It makes me constantly exhausted, but that's just how things are, you know.
PP stream.
Yesterday I did the canvas, and then today, gosh, allergies have been kicking my butt for like the past 2 days.
Really?
Today, allergies, like, ugh. And I took a Benadryl, so I'm surprised I haven't knocked out yet.
It sounds awful. Have you tried?
It is quite bad for me.
I feel bad for me. I okay. I do. You didn't have to tell me to. You should feel. Well, my day's worse because my dog got shot by cancer. So beat that. Like cancer came up and then shot my dog in the stomach.
I stepped on a Lego barefoot.
I stepped on a Lego covered in AIDS.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, you can't beat that.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. I had the worst day. Now I have AIDS.
I can make it worse.
Oh. Without you getting AIDS.
I can make it worse.
Oh. Okay. Wait, is Wait, is Keffels? Okay, yeah, I'm curious.
I can't tell you.
What? That's bullshit.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Why are you being such a bitch right now? Why not?
I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you because it'd be too much. It'd be too much for the audience.
Oh. It's like the time you had to censor me on the podcast. I'm totally gonna be able to finish that thumbnail for it in time.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. Then I'm excited. If it's that bad, then I'm really excited. Where the fuck is it? Oh my god.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for my pen. I can't find my pen. Oh, I found my pen. I was just like looking up a cute kitty to use as a thumbnail for the stream. Because I'm changing it to Sweepy stream. Tired kitty. What if I trick people into watching my stream using cats as thumbnails? Would that be ethical?
No. But then again, it's not ethical to be a streamer.
Well, it's less ethical to be trans and not a political streamer. That's the worst thing to be. If you're trans and not political, not political. Wait, you're a political streamer, I forget. Or content creator. You talk about politics, so you're morally superior. I'm not afraid to talk. It's not that I'm afraid. I guess I am afraid to talk about it. I guess. I'm spooked. I'm spooked. I'm spooked. Politics scared. I don't know. I guess I just don't want it to define my thing, my channel, as much.
Really?
You know, I don't know. I want to be the trans streamer that distracts you from trans people dying. You know, I want to be like the. I want to be the one that that while Ron DeSantis is gunning down all the trans people and is about to shoot you, I want to be like, hey guys, how's it going? We're gonna play Fortnite. Lols.
I love Rusty playing Fortnite.
Yeah, titties slipped out. Oops. 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 Ooh. Hee. Lol. I also like. I don't know. I just started being sleepy today. I don't know why. I was feeling fine yesterday. Maybe because I got the best night sleep of my life in a while. But then today I have only had like 5 hours of sleep. So maybe that's why. You know, I think I'm going to start going to bed after my schedule is over. Like at 11. Once I'm done with everything, instead of talking to people, I'm just going to go straight to bed. That's going to be my life from now on. Oh god, what am I doing right now? Oh yeah, Sleepy Kitty. I hope all you streamers out there like Sleepy Kitty. Okay. Basically, be kitties. Oh, I forgot to do Sleepy Kitties. I don't have cats. I have a dog. Unfortunately, I want a cat though.
I do too.
Sleepy Doge. Yeah. What kind of Doge do you have a Doge?
Mhm.
You like your Doge?
Yeah.
Doges are great. My Doge is pretty good too, though he's kind of like, I don't know, unpredictable. Like, you don't know if he's gonna enjoy your company or not. He's not like the kind of Doge that's like always living and excited for you.
That's how my husky is.
I wonder if sounds like a bitch. Because she's literally a female dog, right? Oh my god. It's a scientific term. It's a politically correct term. Wait, I meant it's a scientifically correct term as well. Fuck. Okay. Open. Open. We should. I know. Wait, you are?
I'm looking at your chat.
Oh. I just uploaded. I just changed the stream thumbnail. I changed the stream thumbnail. Okay. Alright, it's time to get this over with. I am gonna finish this comic tomorrow, probably. I don't know.
What was that?
Hmm?
I heard a sound.
Oh, that was me.
True.
I'm gonna.
Real.
I might share my thing. Your stream. With your Discord. So that you can see it in real time.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
I feel so tempted to take the day off, but I don't want to.
You can take the day off.
No, because if I start taking the day off now, I'm going to start taking the day off tomorrow. And the day after that. Like, I don't know. I need to... It requires a lot of discipline for myself. At least I require a lot of discipline. Keep going. If I had, like, a planned day off, that could work. But wait, why can't I stream right here? Is it because I'm already streaming?
Perhaps.
Okay, well, whatever, I guess.
You can't share your screen?
I can't.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I'm watching your stream.
Okay. Oh, God. So tired. I need to be executed for my tired. I need to be cured of tired. By dying. By dying. By dying.
How long are you going to be streaming for today?
I don't know. Oh, I have like 2 more hours of my... I'm working on the thumbnail.
Dang.
And then I have writing to do today. Normally I don't mind, it's just one of those days. I might need to talk to someone. I don't know. I don't want to take the day off, though. I do enjoy doing this. I'm just tired today.
I mean, it says you've been streaming for 2 hours already. I'm pretty sure you didn't take the day off.
No, I know, but I don't want to finish early, I guess. I'm trying to be girl boss, you know? That needs no penis. By cutting it off.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Give it to Adrian. He'll cook it on stream.
I think I'll give it to Zen. I think they'll make more use out of it, wouldn't they?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what Zen was. I don't know. I don't know what trans men want.
Ask them. Ask them.
Should I invite Zen on
Shoot a
stream?
message right now. No, just send a message without context and say, "Do you want it?"
If I cut off my penis, do you want it? Yeah, if I cut off. No, I feel like this is gonna sound like it's. How do you make that not sound like sexual harassment? How do you not make that sound like sexual harassment? I don't want to. I feel gross. Basically, you're a evil person. I won't ever tell you that.
It's true.
You sinister lady. You're like a real woman. because you manipulate me
Yep.
all the time with your big titty.
Big old floppers.
Go gaboogas. I'm excited to finish the thumbnail today, though. I mean, I keep saying I'm going to finish it today or tomorrow or next day, but I don't know. It's been taking forever to work on. I'm enjoying it, though. I just need to finish the rest of your character shading, and then I draw the microphone, and I think I'll just be done. I might add some small details, like some candy wrappers or something, but I don't know. And I don't fucking know. We'll see. We'll see where we go with it. You know, we should invite Ron DeSantis on the stream. Onto
We should.
invite him on the stream.
In fact, I got him right here.
Really? Do you think he'll like? Does he want us to? Okay, Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
You. You sound a lot like Gracie, Ron. But I'll ignore that. Okay.
What were you saying?
Nothing.
You told me? Wait, I sound like who?
No one. You sound like Ronnie. You sound like Ron.
That's true. That is me.
Okay. What's your thoughts on the presidential election coming up? Are you gonna run?
Well, I'm gonna say this. It's something I'm considering, but I haven't made an announcement or anything. We'll see.
Are you afraid of Donald Trump, or does Donald Trump scare you?
I'm not afraid of anything or anyone. All that I'm afraid of is Western civilization from collapsing.
Oh, what's your thoughts on trans people? I heard that they're. What was that? What was that, Ron? Ron, what was that? What, did you get constipated? Are you okay? Are you okay, Ronnie? Did you take a poop? You sound like you had a poop.
Sorry, I blacked out there for a second. What was the question?
What's your thoughts on trans people?
Ugh.
You okay, Ron? You need a hug?
Never better. Florida is one of the greatest states in the world. And you need to move there instantly, right now, because Florida is where woke goes to die.
I heard that's where a lot of trans people are going to die too, actually.
This is where woke is going to die.
So, Ron, what does woke mean? You may ask.
Oh, that's an easy question. So, minorities.
Oh. That's all? So you were gonna kill minorities, right? Is that your plan, or what? Sorry, I had to adjust my microphone. What?
I mean anti-white education.
Oh. I mean, it's good to not be racist, so I guess that's okay. You?
Alright, back. Alright, thank you, Ron DeSantis, for being
Thank you.
on
He seems nice.
Yeah, he seems like a nice fella. But it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine from the DSA. Her name's Karima, and I was sharing that not we. So basically, what happened was I watched a documentary series about like the Civil War and civil rights movements and stuff following afterwards, before, during, and after, that sort of thing. And there was a time like in the beginning of Reconstruction where since black people had the right to vote and were no longer slaves, and they were all pretty much in the South with a huge population, so all of the representatives became like African American people, like overnight, practically, metaphorically speaking. And what happened was, it made the white people very, very nervous. So then, when the election of 1876 came, and Andrew Johnson pretty much was like, "Hey, if you elect me, we're going to like end Reconstruction.
Oh, is that the guy who started Row?
It's freaking dope. So then they did it. They did that very thing. They ended Reconstruction.
Really?
They started to implement laws that were like, you know, the grandfather clause. If your grandfather wasn't allowed to vote, then you can't either. That or, oh, we're gonna have literacy tests. And if you don't pass the literacy test, you cannot vote. And so
What?
all of this just immediately took away the right to vote to like all black people.
That sucks.
And then all of the representatives that were African American instantly became white again. And that's when like Jim Crow and stuff really started to like take place. And as I was watching this documentary, I was telling Karima, I'm like, I can hear right now the justifications for such legislation. And I know
You see.
they make the same justifications to this day. You
I-
know,
I-
for
as-
stuff like with you know, ID voting and stuff like that, which makes it harder for everyone to vote. It's like, hey, it's not racist. You just have to like pass a literacy test. It's not my fault that like
No, it's pretty fucked up.
happens to affect all African American people.
Well, that's why like
Not that we're racist or anything, but like if your grandfather can't vote, then how can we trust you from voting?
Well, wasn't that why they were like freaking out when? Hello? 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 Hello?
Voter ID and also raising the minimum age of voting to like 21. Like it's all the same thing.
I don't think Gracie can hear me.
And so it's just like, oh god.
Gracie can't hear me.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, can you hear me? Gracie? Oh no, Gracie can't hear me. Gracie, can you hear me? Gracie?
Are you there?
Gracie, can you hear me? Oh my god. Hello? Hello, hello?
I cannot hear you.
Oh my god. Hello? Hello?
I can hear you in the stream, but not in the Discord.
Oh. You muted the stream? Okay, well, oh god. My brain. Oh, my brain. Talk about more racism and stuff happening in America. Gracie, I can't. What the fuck?
Well, I'm gonna mute again because I'm gonna hear myself speak when I say that. So.
Hello? Oh god. Gracie, I can't even hear Gracie anymore. What the fuck? Oh my god. Well, this sucks. Am I still even streaming? Oh god. Oh no, I know. Okay, I'm gonna exit out of Discord and turn it back on. Oh my god. Okay, thank you, Gracie. I'm just gonna try to turn back on Discord, and then I'm gonna. Maybe I might end this early. Asian hide. What the fuck is going on? We tried doing a call on here. Hello, hello? Okay, my voice works on your end, Gracie, if you pick up. No, I'm not gonna sleep. Not yet. Not till, I don't know. Maybe I should sleep.
You should sleep.
Maybe, I don't know. I want to at least do a little bit. How about this? How about this? I'll spend half an hour on this thumbnail, okay?
Okay.
And then I'll sleep.
Okay.
A little bit. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
You have a deal?
Yeah.
And we'll let you talk about as much racism. Talk about as much racism as you want to. No, I was thinking about that too lately. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, was that the guy that made the oh god. What was Jim Crow? Is that the Jim Crow dude?
I'm not certain.
Oh.
I can't say for sure. I don't have that extensive of a knowledge. It was just a quick, like, 6 episode PBS special that went
PB?
from, like, the 18, like, 50s to the 1960s and such.
PBS is pretty based. I'm not gonna lie.
Uh,
You don't like PBS?
Well, they're okay. It's just so the documentary series that I saw was Many Rivers to Cross, which is on YouTube. It's pretty cool. But like, they also did normal liberal stuff. Like, so here's MLK, and he was a peaceful protester that was good. Then here's Malcolm X, who is a lot more extreme and violent.
He was a meanie. Malcolm X was mean.
Yeah. I mean, there were some genuine concerns, and I talked to Cambit about it before.
Gracie.
There was.
Before you continue, I just want to say I'm proud of how hot I made you in this.
Me too.
I'm really proud that I kept your hotness. Sorry, keep going.
But I told, because me and Cambit and I were talking about it before, and Cambit brought up a good point, which is definitely true, and that was there was a lot of anti-Semitism within the civil rights movements.
What?
Especially in the 60s, which is unfortunate.
Was MLK anti-Semitic?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was talking about. Where thankfully, Martin Luther King was one of those that denounced the anti-Semitism. There's like a really cool.
Wait, so there were fucking hoteps in his movement that he was like, yo, cut that shit out.
Pretty much.
That is. Why is he so based? Why is he such a cool guy? Wait, was he?
Cool guys.
He's a cool guy. He's
unfortunately, I believe. Well, unfortunately,
Malcolm
X was actually one of the people who was anti-Semitic, but I think he called his jets on it.
Well, wasn't he? Well, he was a black separatist before he got older. Like he wasn't. Like I don't know. I think there's some criticisms of Malcolm X that were kind of fair in the beginning. Like he got better over time. Yeah, yeah.
But still, that was stuff that was actually happening.
Yeah, Malcolm X was pretty cool at times. See, what else did we learn from that era? Well, alright, wasn't there one thing called Walmart black thing? It was black something. Fuck. I keep forgetting the name of it.
See Black Panther?
No, it was Black Wall Street.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? Does anyone else remember that? I always wondered how that worked. How did that work? Like,
So
I'm not saying
basically,
black people can't run a Wall Street. I hope that's the impression people get.
so what happened was because black and white people were separated in everything, the black community were thriving on their own just as much. Not, I don't want to say just as much, but they were thriving on their own to rates similar, if not better, than some white communities.
In terms of like
And
financial.
yes, in terms of financial. And they had an area. I forget what the town is. I'm gonna get the actual town because they talked about it in the documentary too. Tulsa.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this. That like Black Wall Street was actually pretty hog.
So it's pretty much like they were making their lives better financially and stuff, and they're profiting very well. And then what happened was a false what's the word I'm looking for? Accusation. A false accusation came and was saying that a black male who was a teenager groped a white woman at in a elevator, and immediately like turned into like a huge, I guess, race war, I suppose, where it's just like, oh, black people are sexual predators and
They want to fuck my wife with their bigger penis.
yeah,
My penis is small.
Which again, like I kind of said before, is conservatives have never changed, and they keep saying the same things over and over, saying that black people are promiscuous and wanting to have sex with their white women.
I mean, I guess that like
Children, pedophilia,
that's
all that stuff.
stereotype kind of still like exists.
Yes, it does.
In porn, more so than anything. Still,
Yes.
I think about that a lot. Like the BBC porn is something I always constantly think about. Even in Japan, like it's very prominent in like Japanese hentai and shit. It's really fucking weird.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Ah, Japan could be so cool. Japan has so much potential to be so fucking cool. Just so much holding it back. Anyway, sorry.
Same thing with the U.S. though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I guess I always just get sad because I actually really like a lot of Japanese media, but not a lot of American media. Not because I don't think American media can't be good, just other stuff, but that has nothing to do with the topic. Anyway, let's keep going.
So yeah, it led to really big like race issues, and then a white supremacist group came in and pretty much started firing, and they just got massacred. The Tulsa race massacre.
It's pretty fucked. Not gonna lie.
Long white supremacist terrorist massacre that took place between May 31st and June 1st, 1921.
Jesus.
Injured were 800 plus people and 183 serious injuries, exact number unknown. Where's
Jesus.
I think there's an actual death count. Where's the death count?
I love hearing the accurate death counts. My favorite.
Because it was high. It's high.
But I had a...
The number of killings in the massacre has been estimated to be up to 300, but the precise number is not available.
Remember how I had to leave stream earlier today?
Yesterday?
I mean, that was not yesterday. That was Friday. It was Friday, remember?
It was Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
All day yesterday, so.
Oh, okay. What was I thinking about? Oh yeah, I had a buddy that's. So I had a buddy. This isn't that buddy, but on Thursday, Thursday I had a friend. I guess that has nothing to do with what I was about to talk about, but whatever. Uh, on Thursday I had like an old buddy of mine, and we used to like just say like slurs all the time. And I started hanging out with them again for the first time in like 3 years, and I was thinking, like, man, I've changed a lot. You know, we've all changed a lot, and it's cool to see how much they matured. And then right out, they just like randomly just like dropped the N word, and I was like, oh god, like I've changed a lot. Like what the fuck? It's so weird. Like some people that are just like able to say it just so casually. Like I used to say it a lot, and don't ever say that, audience members. Don't be like young stupid me. Like it's something I regret a lot, honestly. I don't know. Like the more you learn about the history of it all, you know, and knowing what that word's been used for.
You know, it was a really cool response to it that I've heard before.
What?
Because it was from the '90s. I forget which rapper it was. I think he was in NWA. I could be wrong. But there's a rapper that was being interviewed by, funny enough, a white interviewer, because this typically is a very white person thing to do. And it'd say, well, why is it a problem when white people say it?
Oh god.
Black people say it all the time to each other. And his response was, yeah, but like, we didn't give ourselves the name. We took it back. But we weren't the first ones to call us that. I was like, that's such a great answer.
Yeah. Oh my god. I guess like.
So if you ever feel like, hey, why can't I say it? Why do you care to even say it? And they were given that name.
I mean, it's like with tranny and faggot, you know.
Yeah.
I know people. I mean, I sometimes wonder if I should even though I know I can say those words, I shouldn't say as much. But I kind of like saying those words. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't, because like then like by saying it a lot so casually, you're also like encouraging other people to say it more often. But I'm just asking more philosophical questions. I don't know. What's your thoughts on gay people saying the word faggot a lot? Or I should say the F word.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to say it when I was younger also. I never did the N-word thing. But when I was younger, like, you know, stuff like that was a lot more casual.
I mean, I guess like homophobia was a lot more casual too.
It was a lot more casual. And I don't know. It's just it leaves a bad taste in my mouth now, even if it's like you know what I mean? It's like to me, like if you heard a black person say the N word, but they end it with an A, like yeah, you don't really think too much of it. But for some reason, when I hear like the F slur from a gay person, it's almost like as if like a black person saying the N word, but with the hard R, which they don't do.
I guess queer is kind of like the A of our community. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like I think queer is probably like the A of faga. Or we could just call it fagas. Like sup my fagas.
F-A-G-A.
Yeah. I remember when like people were talking about the word black in Spanish, and I was like, yeah, I always feel uncomfortable saying that word. And they're like, which word are you uncomfortable? And like my brain automatically thinking, well, I gotta respond which word I'm uncomfortable with saying. So I said the Spanish word for like black, and everyone's like, whoa. You can
say negro.
Negro. It still sounds racist to me, I guess. I don't know why.
Not.
Is it? Oh, okay.
If you say knee, then yes.
You can't say the word knee. That's also not allowed. It's also a banned word. Soon we're gonna like think of. I mean, I guess like, yeah. Slurs are interesting. I guess like slurs are kind of like. No, I was thinking for a bit when as I was getting older that like slurs are kind of like being replaced, like kind of like just like the new just swear word because like words like fuck, uh, shit aren't like really that offensive, you know, by today's standards. I mean, they're still banned on YouTube at points. I think it's retarded, but or stupid. But like, also just don't say swear words as much as I used to because I kind of find them lazy nowadays. I don't know. I just think there's like smarter words you can use.
Are you one of those people that says stuff like, "Oh, saying a swear word it just shows a weak mind"?
No, I don't think it shows a weak mind because there's like really intelligent ways people can use it. I just like I guess like I've been kind of like finding myself using it lazily. I don't know how to describe it. Like I don't know.
Interesting.
I've been thinking of like watching since we started streaming. I've been thinking of like watching some of my favorite YouTubers or streamers and be like, how did they do the funny? And how can I do the funny on stream or on a podcast?
Yeah.
You know? So I can like make people laugh. Oh god, there's still 10 minutes. Okay. I don't know, like I just want to make people laugh and have a good time. That's all. I don't know. What do you do this stuff usually?
What are you talking about?
Like
swearing?
what? I guess.
Oh, streaming?
Yeah, streaming or swearing, I guess.
Well, for me, whenever I do a stream, I do it in short pockets. I don't really do it for a very long time. I would probably enjoy doing it for a long time, but for me, I get a lot of dopamine from people chatting and stuff, and I like to like run with it. You've been to one of my streams before, right?
I've been to it once. I think I had to leave once because I was busy with something. I don't remember what.
That was a while ago, but I'm planning on doing it some more soon.
Yeah, I'd love to watch you stream sometime.
But I don't know. I just have fun with it. You know what I mean? I don't. Funny enough, I love drawing, and I don't mind drawing, streaming when like with you on Fridays and such.
You don't like streaming while drawing?
I could not be an independent streamer while drawing.
Really?
Most people can, which is why like, if you look at Twitch and look at art streamers, 9 times out of 10 they're listening to like music.
I play like a video essay because I'm like I'm waiting for someone to like probably tell me like, hey, stop it. But honestly, like I don't know, man. I'm trying to draw. I can't entertain people while drawing unless like we're doing goofy stuff, you know?
Yeah. Which is why I just don't see myself as wanting to be streaming art ever on my own.
That's fair.
So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I like playing games on stream, but I've been considering recently. Oh, I used to do like meme time where like Jackson will send memes to me and I'll look at it through the Discord.
That's
I
pretty
used to
cool.
do stuff like that. Yeah, and that was really fun to do.
Yeah, that's pretty